Hi. Hey, everybody. Can you say happy St. Patty's Day?
Hi.
Hi. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. What you got, banana? It's okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy Wednesday.
Hi.
Evie's little shirt says, cutest clover in the patch. Super cute. Are you the cutest? Are you the cutest? Don't draw on it. So I did wear a little bit of green here. I did actually have a shirt that had the child, little Grogu, on it earlier. However, I had to take some other photos, and so I had to take that shirt off for a little bit. But anyway, it's all good. Yes, Alex, time zones do suck. So we had, do you want to draw?
What are doing?
Okay, here you go. I have Evie again until Andrew gets back from basketball practice. So we will just hang out together. Today we are reading episode 6 of the Shadow Demons, which is book 4 of the Shadow Demons saga. So I have been hard at work on Vengeful Darkness, which is the 11th book. So hard to believe this is book 11. So I'm working on book 11 of this series. So if you have not caught up with this, I highly recommend going ahead and reading ahead so that you can be caught up by the time this 11th book comes out. It is up for pre-order for May 11th. So it won't be that far away. I will be working on Vengeful Darkness all through the month of April for Camp NaNoWriMo and updating some vlog stuff on my Heart Breathings channel. So that's going to be really fun. Let me know in the comments if any of you are writers and planning to participate in Camp NaNoWriMo as well. A bow. Yeah, it's pretty. I can't put that one in your hair because that's a paper clip that goes on paper. Is that pretty? Yeah. She will not let me put a real bow in her hair, but today apparently she wants to wear one because a bow, yeah, so pretty. Can you say beautiful? Beautiful. So today we're going to be reading episode 6. I am really looking forward to it. So where we go in this section is kind of starting to get into the midpoint of the novel, where we are moving into some of the real big, I don't know if it'll go on her shirt. Maybe she'll probably just pull it right off. We're getting into some of the more like real action of the story. So it's going to be really fun. So I put it on her shirt and she immediately tore it off. Here, do you want to come down here with the pen? Oopsie. Here you go. Here you go. She actually has been doing a great job this morning of playing on her own in the office to let mommy work. So I've been working through kind of reformatting and changing up some of my books to re-upload them. So I have a question for those of you as readers who read ebooks. What do you like to see at the end of your book? So in author speak, we call this back matter. Is there, like, I guess really I have tried lots of different things in the backs of my books in terms of the ebooks, because you have space there to leave links to buy the next book or link to sign up for my newsletter or anything like that. And in the past, I have tried a couple of different things. So one thing I have tried is putting like a teaser chapter for the next book into the back of the book. I didn't feel like that really worked great because it tends to make the book look like it's longer than it is. So let me know if that kind of thing bothers you, that you think you've got a lot more to read and then the book is over at like 92% and you're like, oh man, now it's just a preview. Or if you actually like reading previews, I would love to hear from you guys about what you prefer when it comes to that. Alexandra says, to tell the truth, I never look through the back matter. But do you click the link that tells you where to buy the next book, or do you just close the book and head over to the website? So a reading list, Karen says. So the reading list in terms of like also by or other books by the author is a little bit tedious, because if you think about like you have 30 books and then a new book comes out, you have to, if you want to keep that list up to date, you have to reformat all 30 books for all 5 platforms. So that's 150 new ebooks that you have to upload to all the vendors, and it takes hours and hours and hours. So in the past, I have tried to have like a complete also bought list, but it becomes, or like also buy list, but it becomes really tedious. So what I've kind of thought about doing something in the back of mind now that I have a chance to kind of do it. So it's good to see some different, when I'm geared up for more of the story and it's a sample, it bothers me as well. What I'm thinking about doing is just like some people mentioned, it seems like the link to the next book is the smartest thing to put right there as an author. Like if you're reading book 3, a link immediately that says, here's where you can buy it and keep reading book 4. And then I think that what I'm going to do is have a community page there basically that's like, hey, if you want to get involved with our community, here's some ways that you can do that. You can either go to this community page, and what I've done is kind of created a page on my website that people can go to see like what's our current live reading schedule like for YouTube, where can you join the Facebook group, things like that. And then also a link out to my website that shows you what other books to read, because I think that, Carol, I don't think you're very unusual in that. I think a lot of people don't look past the end of the book. And so I think as a writer and as a reader, I think the more stuff you put in the back, the more annoying it is for a lot of readers, because like I said, it looks like the book is over at 92% or something like that. So, oh, there's George. Here's Daddy. She's trying to grab all her stuff. Like, let me grab this iPad real quick. So I was going to show you guys and just kind of share if I can find it again, but I navigated away from it. Just to kind of get a little bit of feedback before we start reading, this is kind of what I've created, but I haven't put it anywhere yet, is this little thing that says become a part of Sarah Cannon's Coven. And then there's basically images here of where you can join our group. So we've got the newsletter, obviously, my Coven on Facebook, the Discord channel, the YouTube, and it explains kind of what we're currently reading. And what I like about having this type of information is that it doesn't have to stay up to date with the book, because if I put in there, we're reading Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the book, then if it changes, I have to go and update all of my books all over again, which takes way too much time and it get out of date. So with this, I can constantly keep this page updated, and then I can kind of tell people, hey, if you haven't listened to this, you could listen to this book or that book, and I can kind of communicate. An Instagram link, and then some other follow me links, like if you're not following me on BookBub or Goodreads, I have an Amazon page like all authors do, or Wattpad. So this way it can become like a dynamic page. But before I started adding this even to my pay like books into my books, I wanted to make sure that you guys don't think that this is kind of tedious. I know some people said already that you don't like to even look at what's in the back, but if you are someone who looks in the back, what do you think would make you want to click on a link like this? What I have currently said is, let me see if I can pull it up and find it here. Just what I said was, loving this series, don't just leave a review with a link back to the book so if they can leave a review. Come hang out with Sarah and other book lovers in our active community. And then I have a little image that says join our community. And then it says, this has the potential to be so much more than a set of fun books to read. We also have an amazing community of thousands of readers, and we would love for you to be a part of it. So then it says, want to get involved? Here's how you can hang out personally with Sarah and other book lovers. Visit Sarah's community page. So that is just a link to that page that you guys are looking at, and then join Sarah's witchy newsletter. And what I'm going to do, I'm pretty sure, and this will be available to everybody, is I am going to, I have never given away anything for free for signing up for my newsletter, but I get people a lot of times that ask, like, can we get a copy or a way to purchase all of your different short stories, all in one place, because some of them are published like in anthologies. Some of them are published on just on my website. Some of them I read out loud. So I was thinking as a freebie for signing up for my newsletter, I would finally just go ahead and put all of those short stories together so you guys can have them for free. So that would be like Ella and the Haunted House and some of the other ones that have been out for a while, including Venom and just pretty much all the little shorts and things like that, the Witching Well and different things, the Mama zombie story, just kind of all the little pieces, bits and pieces that have not been published and so forth. So that'll be kind of a freebie. So then it just says join Sarah's Witchy newsletter and receive a free short story connection or collection. And then at the bottom, it says, I'll see you in the shadow world. So I was thinking that would be cool. And then after that, I have an about the author page, but I sort of switched it up because my traditional about the author page was just like Sarah Cannon, blah, 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 blah. And it sounds like I think that's kind of a holdover from traditional publishing when authors came up with like a professional bio, but it never has really read like me. And so I decided instead to put like about the author that is more of, I guess, like sounds like me. So it says, hi, I'm Sarah. And this is something I had written on my website. Storytelling is my passion. I'm obsessed with creating new worlds and magic systems, putting fun twists on old ideas, and keeping you turning pages late into the night. Some of my fans call me the Queen of Cliffhangers, or as some lovingly say, Sarah Hangers. And even though I'm not the fastest writer, I can promise that I always pour my whole heart into every book I write. I also love hanging out with my community. It's one of the best parts of being a writer. So I kind of leave that stuff. And then I say, want to know more about me, like how an online video game changed my life forever, what my all-time favorite anime is, or where I get my best story ideas, sign up for my newsletter and I'll tell you all my witchy secrets. In the meantime, though, I do hope you keep reading. I'm happy you picked up my books. So grab the next book and then a link to that next book. So just a little bit of blah, 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 blah. Yeah, just a little bit of a sneak peek there of what I think I'm going to put into the back of my book. So there won't be a like complete reading list because I just haven't been able to keep up with that like I wanted to. But I think after the about the author, with a picture of me, of course, I might include a picture of me with the kids as well. And then on the back, to have something that has basically, especially in the back of the Shadow Demons books, having a link to the reading order page on my website, and then having basically just a little short blurb about all my different series. So instead of all the books, saying something along the lines of, here's this series, here's this series, here's this series, and then say, if you want to get links to all my books or check them out, here's the link to my webpage, because I think that the webpage is easier to keep up to date. So I'm glad to see some really good comments about that. But if you have any feedback where you say, oh, I really think that it would be better, like I would prefer it if you said this, or that's too many links, or that's too many words, feel free to let me know, because I'm going to be literally going through all like 27 books, and I'm going to be updating them all. And this is going to take a lot of time to upload and update everything. So I want to make sure. I'm also scouring through all the emails that have been sent to me over the years and double checking that any of the typos that were sent in, I try to fix typos as they come up. But if you happen to be reading through some of these books right now currently, and you happen to see a typo, I would certainly always appreciate it if you would kindly email me at sarah@sarahcannon.com and just say, hey, just so you know, on chapter whatever, or in Shadow Demons, I found this typo, and just tell me what the sentence is, and then I can search for it. But yes, and thank goodness for Janet. Janet is going to do all the uploading for me, but I'm going to be doing all of the fixing, and some of these books are still actually formatted with my old formatting. So there's going to be a lot of work coming in, and I want to make sure that I checked in with you guys to see if there was anything there that did not sound intriguing, because I feel like I really want people who read the books to know that there is this great community that has formed between us here. Not only in the Coven, which now has over 3,500 people, but this YouTube channel that now has getting close to 6,000 people. And it means so much to me to have you guys here, and other people that discover this series. I want them to know, and to be a part of it. So yeah, Katie, if you see a typo, please go ahead and send that. Now, some of the books, like if you bought them a couple of years ago, the typos probably have already been fixed, because Amazon in particular doesn't necessarily like update you with the most recent version of that book, even if you re-download it. So sometimes people send in typos because they had a book that was a couple years old that's already been fixed, but I still always appreciate it, just because I want to grab them if I can. So, all right, guys, I know I've had a little bit of talking, but thank you so much for the feedback on that. I think it's going to be fun and a kind of a different way that makes it feel a little bit more like me in the back of those books. So thank you for your feedback, you guys. Thank you, Kelly, for throwing that in there too. Sarah@sarahcannon.com. Janet and I are already, just so you know, talking about plans for another spooktacular this October. And I know that we are like way early, but we're going to have bigger and better plans for the spooktacular this year, and things that hopefully are going to be very exciting for you all. So we have a little bit of a smaller crowd again today, and I have a feeling it's because of the time change. So that is totally okay. We still had a lot of people coming back to watch the replay. So if you missed us due to the time change, just another quick reminder, we are now in Eastern Daylight Time. So still 4 p.m., but just that time might have switched if you are not in the Eastern time zone. So never too early to plan. Yeah, last year it was kind of just a one-off thing. I was like, oh, I'll do this. And I didn't start planning it until like September or early October. I was kind of still planning. This year we are getting a jump on it so that we can do some cool stuff. So it's going to be fun. All right. So last time on Shadow Demons, we had basically Harper realized that Zara was coming, and Zara woke her up early in the morning and was like, it's time to start practicing. And Zara was expecting, hey, I'm going to teach you more about like glamours or different things like that. And she was like, no, I want to learn about defense. I want to learn how to defend myself, how to fight back. And one of the main things that Zara taught Harper was how to create a magical shield, which will come up many more times in the series. And one of the interesting things about the shield is that when a witch puts up a shield like this, whatever gets absorbed by the shield also kind of gets a slight bit absorbed into the witch herself. Like it's almost kind of like an aftertaste, like you can sort of taste the magic. So it's one way to tell sort of just how evil or good another witch is, because you can sort of tell their magic in a way there. So that is kind of where we are, except that now they are going to be moving on to, so she also taught her a little bit of transfiguration. That doesn't come up as often in the series. It does a few times. And then Zara was like, it's magic. So that was kind of fun. So now they're moving on to chapter 24, the Hall of Doorways. So you can tell just from the title there that we are going to be revisiting something Harper accidentally stumbled on in a previous book. So this is going to be part of the fundamental magic of how the shadow like system works. So chapter 24, the Hall of Doorways. Zara pushed open the door to the hidden passageway and revealed the narrow staircase leading up to the secret third floor of Shadowford. This, she said, is something you should have been introduced to a long time ago. I swallowed. Should I tell her I had already found this place on my own? Come on, she said. I want to show you how I got here so fast from DC. Confused, I followed her up the stairs to the third floor, past the familiar circular room with its 5 doors, and into the long hallway. I've been here before, I said softly. She turned to look at me curiously. For a moment, her face was so still and expressionless, I thought maybe she was going to be angry with me. Then a small smile tugged at her lips. You are a rebel, aren't you? Sometimes, I said, returning her smile. Can I ask you something? You can ask me anything, she said. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be your trainer and your guide. You should have been given a trainer the second the order here confirmed your identity. You are royalty for our kind, Harper. Your bloodline should secure you respect and reverence in this community. Instead, your coming here has been shrouded in secrets and lies. From now on, you can trust me. You can ask me anything, and I will answer you honestly. I paused, trying to decide what I wanted to ask her. I liked Zara and doubted she would really lie to me, but at the same time, I didn't trust that she would always choose to tell me the truth either. I wanted to ask you how it's even possible to have this many doors in the upstairs of this house, I said. I mean, I know it has to be some kind of magic, but where do all these doors go to? I take it you didn't explore too far last time you were in here. I spent most of my time in the room where they keep the spell books, I said, trying to get my memory back. Zara closed her eyes briefly. A pained look crossed her face. I still can't believe you had to go through that, she said. The Peachville Order's behavior is completely unacceptable. It was nice to have someone apologize for that, but it would have meant more coming from the leaders of the local order. So, about the hallway, I started. Of course, she said. This hallway is a type of portal magic, similar to the magic that opens a portal from our world to the shadow world. We call this the Hall of Doorways. This exact hallway exists in over 100 places around the world. In fact, right now, just by standing in this hallway, we've already left Shadowford home. I gasped. I mean, I figured the doors led somewhere cool, but I thought they were hidden here inside this house. I had no idea it was a portal of some kind. So, where are we? Where we are now does not matter, Zara said. What matters is where we are going. Let me show you. She led me down the long hallway. Each door had a picture engraved on the surface of the wood. A dragon, a snake, a deer. We passed at least 20 doorways before Zara stopped in front of a door with a butterfly engraved in it. My eyes widened. The butterfly was the animal all of Zara's family could shapeshift into, the same way that Marianne's family could all shift into crows. Zara's family became butterflies. Is this your home? I asked. Instead of answering me with words, Zara opened the heavy wooden door. Inside was a room almost identical to the circular room at Shadowford, 4 other doors besides the one we were standing in front of. This is just like Shadowford, I said. Do you have a library here and a potion room? Zara nodded. Cool. When she shut the door, I noticed that this side of the door had the same demon carved on it. This room could have been the identical twin of the room in Shadowford. Are we in your house? Yes, she said. Would you like to say hello to my sister, Honora? I nodded. Awesome, I said. I was in shock. I'd spent hours wondering what was behind those doors. I imagined torture chambers, weird creatures kept in cages, all sorts of things. We don't have much time before your ritual ceremony is scheduled to begin, she said. As you can imagine, my mother's life is very busy. I froze. The heritage ritual is today? Yes, she said. Didn't we talk about this? You never said when it would be for sure. I looked down at my tattered jeans and t-shirt. I don't think I'm dressed right. Zara giggled. Don't worry, she said. Mother has something for you to wear. The door leading down to Zara's family home was on our left. She opened it to reveal a much larger staircase than the one I was used to. At Shadowford, we still had to pass through a secret passageway to get into the main part of the house. Why are these stairways hidden if these are homes that stay in the Prima's family? Sometimes guests come over, she said. Or if someone in a hostile group broke into our home, they wouldn't be able to pass through this door. Is there some kind of spell on it to prevent people from going through? I thought of the secret passage down to the cheerleading room. Almost every secret doorway like this has some kind of magic granting access to only certain people, she said. It's basic magic to seal a doorway or even a home with that type of restriction. I was suddenly reminded of my visit to the Crow Village. There had been a magical barrier hiding the Crow's entire town from view. What about a town? I asked. Or a neighborhood? Could you seal off a large area like that? Zara nodded. Yes, but it would take a very powerful spell to pull it off, she said. Are the seals easy to break? I mean, say another witch was trying to get past this doorway. How hard would it be for her to break through your seal? Why all these questions about seals? Zara asked, tilting her head to the side. I cleared my throat. I'm just curious, I said, trying to make my tone more casual. If you're worried that you're in danger at Shadowford, you really shouldn't be concerned, she said. I didn't want to tell her that I felt I was in danger pretty much everywhere I went. What about a blood oath? I asked, remembering Marianne's words. What if a seal was bound by blood? How hard would that be to break? Zara's features darkened. This is very serious magic you are talking about, she said. A normal seal is difficult to break unless you know the special words that were said when it was first created, like a code of sorts. But a blood oath is almost impossible to break. Chills ran up and down my spine. There had been so much going on lately. I hadn't had time to sit and think about the spell books that were stolen from the Crow Village, but now I felt afraid all over again. Whoever had taken the Crow's books on dark magic had somehow had a blood oath with them. It was the only explanation. But who? Had someone in Peachville been working with the Crows all along? Come, Zara said, her face softening. There's nothing to worry about. This is a very important day for you. Let's be happy. Zara led me into her home. I was amazed by the sheer size of it. We came out at the end of a long hallway decorated with plush carpet and expensive wallpaper with gold and off-white tones. The furniture in this place probably cost more than all the furniture in all the foster homes I'd stayed in combined. This house has been in your family for a long time? I asked. Almost 2 centuries, she said. The Winter family has always held a prominent position in politics. My ancestors built this house here shortly after Washington, D.C. became the nation's capital. It's beautiful, I said, noticing the gold and crystal chandeliers, the artwork. It was easily the most luxurious house I'd ever been in. Zara stopped in front of a set of double doors at the end of the hallway and knocked. The girl who answered looked so much like Zara, I had no doubt this was her sister. She was a fragile porcelain doll on the outside, but I knew that if she was anything like the other women in her family, she was also very smart and very powerful. Harper, this is my sister, Honora. She is the second in line to take my mother's place, Zara said, introducing us. Honora, this is Harper. She's the prima futura I told you about from Georgia. Zara has told me so much about you, Harper, she said. Her voice was higher pitched than Zara's. I've been so anxious to meet you. I know you both were expecting the heritage ritual to begin soon, but Mother isn't home yet. I'm not sure what's keeping her, but it hopefully won't be much longer. Will anyone from Peachville be here? Mrs. Ashworth should be here any minute, Zara said. She's bringing the heritage chalice. Chalice? I asked. What's that? The heritage chalice is a special cup forged from silver from the shadow world, Honora said. Each demon gate has its own chalice with a stone embedded into it that is much like your necklace. The stone comes from the portal and contains a powerful connection to your demon. The heritage ceremony itself is brief, but you will feel the effects of it for the rest of your life. I breathed in slowly, my heart racing. I knew it was wrong, but I was looking forward to having more power. I wanted to be able to defend myself and not get tired, but I knew that I was walking on thin ice. Jackson once said that power was a dangerous drug. He was right. Chapter 25, Plugged In. The room in the basement of the Winters' home was small and silent. No one spoke as they entered. Zara told me the basement room was one of the earliest ritual rooms for witches in the United States, and that it was a rare honor to be invited to participate in a ceremony there. The second I crossed the threshold, I felt a kind of breathless energy take over my body. I had only been to church a handful of times in my life, but this felt similar to that experience, sacred, steeped in history and tradition. The crowd that gathered to witness my heritage ritual was small, but familiar. Mrs. Ashworth and Mrs. King had both come through the Hall of Doorways early this morning. Zara, her two sisters, and her mother were all there. As a surprise, Caroline, Meredith, and Eloise Sullivan from Cyprus were also there as witnesses. "You're like a daughter to me now," Eloise had said with a bright smile. It was good to see them again. Caroline gave me a huge hug. She was looking much better, and I was happy to see she was recovering from the attack. It also made me less nervous to have another young prima futura in the room. Meredith had gone through her heritage ritual just a year before me. "You're going to love it," she said. "It's like being plugged into a permanent power source." Chills ran up my spine as the stone door to the room slid closed. There was no turning back now. The walls were draped with colorful tapestries that depicted witches casting spells. A pentagram was carved into the wood floor. 5 white candles set up, one at each point. Priestess Winter lifted her palm and formed a bright blue flame. She held it out in front of her and blew as if blowing pixie dust into the air. The wicks each caught fire and burned the same bright blue. "Harper Madison Brighton of Peachville, the spirits call you to the center of the star," she said, her voice low and mysterious. The candlelight flickered across her face. I crossed into the pentagram and stood in the very center. A tingle spread up my legs and through my chest, filling my body with awareness. I had to remind myself to breathe. As the ritual began, I felt almost as if I was standing outside of myself. The air was filled with electricity and promise. Mrs. Ashworth handed the priestess a silver cup. For a moment, my heart skipped a beat. It looked identical to the one the Crow Witch had used when she tried to kill me. I could still see it in her wrinkled hands, her long twisted nails clinking against the metal. This cup, however, had a blue stone embedded in the side that exactly matched the stone in my mother's necklace. I still didn't completely understand the significance of the stones. Each demon gate had its own gemstone. Some were rubies, others had diamonds or topaz or even pearls. Cyprus's gem was an emerald. When I'd asked about the purpose of each stone, I'd been given a vague answer about how finding the right stone for an area had to do with the terrain and the particular magical energy of a town. Something about that explanation didn't ring true, though, but no one could give me a straight answer when I questioned it. Like most things in the order, it seemed to be a guarded secret. All I knew was that, for whatever reason, Peachville's chosen stone was a clear blue sapphire. Priestess Winter held the silver chalice high in the air. The witches around me all began to chant in unison, and the sapphire stone on the side of the cup began to glow. My eyes locked on the stone, unable to look away. Around my neck, I felt the stone on my necklace also begin to vibrate against my skin. The priestess turned the chalice around 3 times in her hand, and when the stone came back around to face me the 3rd time, a bright light shone out from it like a sunbeam. The light sought out the sapphire in my necklace and connected us with a visible thread of light. A strange energy pulsed through me. I leaned my head back, letting the power flow into my chest and fill me. Vis Virus, power of the old ones, enter the body of this young prima futura, the priestess said. Guide her way so that she may become worthy of her heritage. She held the chalice in her left hand, then reached into the pocket of her robe and pulled out a small vial of blue liquid. The neon glow of the vial made her face light up in the half-darkness. Vis Virus, power of the old ones, show her the way. Fill her with the power of those who have come before her. She poured the blue potion into the chalice. My heart beat faster and faster as my body began to tremble. I didn't know what was in the potion, but for some reason, I ached for it. My mouth watered just thinking about it on my tongue. My own need for it scared me. Vis Virus, power of the old ones, judge her as worthy, Priestess Winter said, letting go of the silver cup and letting it float in the air between us. Harper Madison Brighton, the 7th prima of the Brighton line of Peachville, embrace your heritage and drink the cup of your ancestors. Without even thinking of what I was doing, my hands reached for the cup, hungry for a taste of its knowledge and power. The silver was hotter than I expected, so hot it nearly burned my hands to touch it. The instant my fingers closed around the base of it, part of me wanted to pull away, to drop the cup onto the floor, but a stronger part of me welcomed the pain. Drink, she said. With trembling hands, I lifted the cup to my mouth. The glowing blue liquid swirled inside, and as my lips touched the silver, the need for it consumed me. I tipped the cup toward my mouth and drank hungrily. A terrible pain shot through my body. The chalice fell from my hand and landed with a clang against the stone floor. I clutched my stomach, the liquid inside burning me like a wildfire as it spread through my organs. I screamed and fell to the floor, instantly overcome with fever. Sweat formed on my forehead, and I struggled to breathe through the heat. Caroline reached toward me, but her sister grabbed her arm and pulled her back. Was this normal? I had never felt such heat in my life. I held myself up on my hands and knees for as long as I could, then finally succumbed to the growing fever, collapsing onto the cold stone floor. Chapter 26, A Bright and Burning Fire. A vision of the woman in white flashed before my eyes. She sat on the edge of the fountain at Shadowford, smiling softly. I walked toward her and placed my hands in the flowing water, yearning for the cool, refreshing feel of it against my skin. Instead, the water was scorching hot. Suddenly, I was back in the basement room of the Winters' home. I was aware of my body enough to know that I was on my hands and knees on the floor of the ritual room, but I felt half in, half out of the moment. Faces kept flashing in my mind. The woman in white, a young girl with her hair in braids, my mother Claire running through a field of the most beautiful white roses. Sweat dripped from my forehead. I opened my eyes and the room seemed to spin in circles. The small group of women in the room continued to chant, but all I could hear clearly was a thrumming in my ears. Another vision bolted through me. The woman in white stood in the ritual room at Shadowford. She was surrounded by women in blue and black robes. The sapphire portal in the center of the room opened, its bright light almost blinding. A thick black smoke snaked through the portal, then wrapped itself around her body. As soon as it had come, the vision disappeared. I gasped for breath and wiped the sweat from my face. My stomach twisted and turned, and a hot fever pulsed inside me. Images from the lifetimes of every Peachville prima flowed through me like a river of lava. Finally, there she was, my mother, her beautiful blonde hair blowing in the breeze as she ran through a field of white roses. She turned and smiled, her eyes looking straight into me. I ached to talk to her, to know who she was and why she gave me away. I reached for her, but the vision fell through my fingertips. Just as suddenly as the visions began, they disappeared, leaving a bright and burning fire within the core of my soul. Chapter 27, Aldine. I had never felt so alive or so awake in my life. Energy swirled through my veins like an unending tornado. Priestess Winter closed the ceremony and everyone spilled out into the hallway, embracing me with hugs and congratulations. "See what I mean?" Meredith whispered in my ear. "Amazing, isn't it?" I nodded, my cheeks warm and flushed. Amazing wasn't even a strong enough word to describe how I felt. My entire body buzzed from head to toe. The demon tattoo on my back tingled. I'd gotten so used to having it there, I barely noticed it anymore. But after the ritual, every inch of my skin was hyper aware. "I'm very happy for you," Zara said. She handed me a small white box. "What's this?" Growing up the way I did, I hadn't gotten very many gifts in my life other than toys donated to me by a church or something. "Open it." She'd stood perfectly still, waiting. I pulled off the white ribbon and carefully opened the top of the box. Inside, nestled in white fluff, was a beautiful crystal butterfly. It was made of clear blue stones, just like the Peachville portal stone, and was attached to a bobby pin I could wear in my hair. "I love it," I said, fastening the pin in my hair. "Thank you." "Come on," she said, placing her arm in mine. "Mom has a special luncheon prepared for you." The small party made its way up the basement stairs and into the elaborately decorated home. The dining room was huge. A long, shiny table made of rich, chocolatey wood seated all 10 of us. Priestess Winter insisted that I take a spot at the head of the table. Gifts had been laid out on a side table, and Mrs. King made a toast to me as the prima futura. For the first time since I'd come to Peachville and realized who I was, I felt loved and appreciated by the members of the Order of Shadows. I wondered if there was some way I could be happy being a part of it. Yes, I understood there was a dark side to the Order, a side I didn't completely understand or want to be a part of. But with the fresh flow of power coursing through me, I saw a beautiful side to my fate as Prima. I'd seen the faces of my ancestors. I'd felt their power surge through me. I'd experienced a connection to them during that ritual I never knew was possible. I suddenly didn't feel so certain about turning my back on all of that. When the main meal was over, the waiters brought out a large chocolate cake covered with cream cheese icing. My favorite. My mouth fell open. How did you know this was my favorite? A waiter placed a large slice in front of me on the table, and I ran my finger through the smooth icing. "Ella May told us," Mrs. King said. "She said you mentioned it once at dinner when you guys were eating cupcakes." I couldn't believe anyone remembered that. It touched my heart. I felt stuck between Jackson and the Order. There was no way I could have them both. I pushed the worry from my head and decided to try to enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Someday I would have to make a choice, but not today. Today I could have cake with my friends in the Order. I brought a large bite up to my mouth, but before I could even taste the chocolate on my tongue, the doors to the dining room burst open and a woman ran in. Her clothes were ruffled and her eyes were red. All eyes turned to her. Priestess Winter stood, her chair scraping against the floor. "What's happened?" she asked. "Priestess," the woman said. She fell to her knees and bowed her head. She was out of breath. There's been an attack. It's horrible. They're all dead. They're dead. Someone's fork dropped hard against their plate. I set my bite of cake down, searching their faces, the faces of the women at the table. Who was dead? Slow down, Priestess Winter said, walking over to the woman and helping her rise to her feet. Tell me what happened. Where was this attack? Aldine, Kansas, the woman said, sometime in the middle of the night. A gasp went through the room. Eloise Sullivan cried out, then placed her hand over her mouth. I still didn't understand what they were talking about, but I could feel the dread that oozed through the room like poison. Priestess Winter walked to the large bay window and stared out into her garden. How many dead? She asked, her voice trembling. Everyone, the woman said. The Prima was murdered, and the Demon Gate was destroyed by magic. Every witch bound to the Aldine Gate, she said, crying. They're all dead. Dun, dun, dun. This is where I have decided to leave you until next Monday. So a couple of things to note here in this episode. So first, we have another scene where we see Harper wanting so badly to embrace this side of the order, like almost trying to justify, okay, so I know there's some bad things like demons and, all these things that they've done, but look at how good this is. Plus getting a sense of that, that full power of this could be my life someday. Plus, you definitely don't know where you can buy your book copy of book 4. That's right. I could leave you there, or you can continue reading on your own. Yes, Kansas has a history of wicked witches. So you get that sense that, first of all, we don't know what all was in that blue potion. So that could be affecting her, obviously, this sort of euphoria. Plus, you have to think about how would it feel to someone who had never known her history, her ancestors, all of these things, to suddenly actually see them and feel like they're in her head, like she's that much closer to real, true blood relative people that were like her mother, her grandmother, things like this. And so you have this sort of intoxicating connection to that. And she sees that, gosh, the Order of Shadows could be my in to really finding out who I am, who my mother was, all of those things. So that is an interesting part of the ceremony. Also, you have the introduction of the Hall of Doorways. So this is portal magic that exists somewhere outside of space, right? It's not actually inside any one house. It's something that is separate entirely. And the entire order basically is connected through these doorways. So you want to go and visit a witch in Washington, D.C., you find her door and you get in, right? But you understand also through her conversation with Zara that these doors do have some type of magical seal, so that hopefully it wouldn't be like, just any old person could go into the doorway. It would have to be, these are very hidden, sealed off doorways. And so the only way to break that seal would be to understand and know the magic that's behind it, or the magic, that word that was said when it was created. So there's all these kind of rules that are part of that. Also, just an interesting note is that, Zara has given her this beautiful sort of butterfly bobby pin that does become important later in the series as well. So take note of that. Another kind of thing that happens here in this particular episode is that we get to see, you've got this history, this heritage, and they knew that this was all coming. And yet it's almost like, so you have Mrs. Ashworth there, but it's almost like they're sort of reluctant. Like they never wanted Harper to know that she was going to go through all these things. They never explained the rituals to her. They never even really told her this is happening today. Like, Zara was like, we talked about this, right? Like I told you we were going to be doing this soon, but Zara still kind of expects that surely, her local coven is telling her what to expect and what to do. And Harper's not getting any of that type of training like she normally would have. So she's feeling trapped between, I've got Jackson over here who's telling all these keeping all these secrets from me and tells me only things in piecemeal, but I do care for him. And then I've got like people that are after me, but I don't necessarily want to tell the order about that because then they might lock me away. And then you've got the order you've got Priestess Winter and her beautiful daughters, and it feels like they're caring, and Eloise and her daughters are caring. But what about these people that are from her own coven? Like Mrs. King has been nice to her, but Mrs. Ashworth has been very resistant to even teaching her or telling her anything that's important to her. So there's a lot of confusing things happening for Harper. So it's really... surrounded by secret keepers and liars is tough. And she doesn't really have an anchor yet in terms of what she really believes and whose side she's really on. And so that is a big theme in this book, kind of that tug of war that she's feeling between, is there some way to make it both work? Is there some way that I could be with Jackson, but also still have this power or still lead the Order of Shadows? And Harper is definitely not someone who is ready to take no for an answer. She always feels like there's got to be a solution here. We got to be able to work through this. And she's been used to, in her lifetime, trying to adapt and change and grow and look for new solutions and new ways to fit in and new ways to belong or whatever, or make the best of her situation. So you see all of that coming into play. But I will also mention here that this book in particular has a few inconsistencies. And so I've thought several times, and probably when I go back through, I am going to fix some of these things. For a long time, I decided I was not going to worry about them. But some of this stuff was not as well thought through. When we get to book 5, you learn a lot more about the gemstones and how the magic works with the different portals. And so you hear Harper mention a few gemstones here that there's like pearl gates and stuff like that. But then when I was going later in the series, I took pearls and topaz out of the gates. So that's like one kind of tiny inconsistency there. So I think I'm going to change it and kind of pull back on those inconsistencies. Also, I think at the beginning, I didn't notice this one before, but as I was reading, she mentions that it was like carved into the wooden floor, and then later it clinks on the stone floor. So just something like tiny like this. And this was before I was using an editor for continuity. So yeah, I think I'm going to go back and change some of those things. There's also another small error, or I would say probably one of the bigger continuity errors coming up. And so I may change it even before I read it out loud to you guys, because it's one that's bothered me for a while that I would like to change. But there is also something in this book that if you catch it, you might be like, how did that work? There's something off about that. But we haven't gotten to it yet, but you will notice it later. But that was done intentionally, and you don't really fully get the answer as to why that is true until book 6. So I will be kind of vaguely talking about that, but some of you probably know what that is. So anyway, just to show kind of real life that you don't, like, even when you're the creator of these things or you're the author of it, sometimes there are going to be small inconsistencies because it's a lot of words and a lot of world to keep track of. And sometimes as you go through the series, you realize, man, I wish I had done this a different way. Or now I'm going to choose just these 5 stones and I don't want to use these others. So then it's like, what do you do? And at least as an indie publisher, I can always go back and change that stuff. But it is kind of, interesting to go back and see those things. So just a little side note. So yeah, we are about like this. We'll find out more about what really happened in Aldine, but basically Harper has heard people say that if she dies as the last remaining person in the Prima line without this ritual that transfers her magic to another, everybody that was created basically from from that original stone in Peachville, like every witch who was bound to a demon through that stone, the way that we saw Brooke in book 2, all of them would die, just like what we're going to learn happened in Aldine. So if the last prima or her daughter and so forth dies. So it's really like pretty serious, because you might have heard that it could happen. Now it's like, even to these other women in that room, it's like, oh my God, it actually is happening. This actually did happen. So it's like, who did this? And does this mean that Harper really is in danger, as well as everybody in the Peachville line? And what is this going to mean for Harper and her security, right? So when it comes to Airden, is he the only demon for the Brighton line? So yes. So when each gate is originally opened, like they've talked about with Peachville, there's going to be this big Halloween party, right? So this is going to be the 100th anniversary of that portal being opened. And you will learn more as the series goes on about how those portals get opened. But he was the one. So like whenever a new town is established, they have to choose a powerful demon, and that demon goes into the very first witch. So the very first demon pulled through the portal is the prima demon. And so it's Airden is that demon always. He's the one. So each time a prima dies, she gives the demon passes, Airden passes to the next witch in line. But that's not how it works with like Mrs. Ashworth or Mrs. King. If they were to die, then their demon dies with them. So it's only the prima demon that's passed on and lives that long of a life inside a witch. And he's connected to that Sapphire Gate in particular, the Peachville Sapphire Gate. So somebody like the Crow Witch could transfer him to them, but he's connected to that specific gate and always will be. But that usually means he's connected to that particular prima line, unless you use this terribly dark magic and change lines over, which has never happened before. It's just something that they wanted to do. The Crows wanted to do, but they were unsuccessful twice. So that kind of clears that up a little bit. Laura says, I'm struggling to let go of my first book to publish until I have the second plotted, because I want the world to be consistent. Yeah. And I, like I said before, I didn't plan so far in advance with this series. I just thought it was going to be a trilogy or so. And so as I got deeper into things, I was like, oh, what if I did this? Oh, this is how that magic worked. And I was kind of feeling it out and deciding things as I went. Like I didn't know when I first started that I would have all these gates or how demons worked. It's just, I came up with it as I was writing each new book. And so when I go to write a new series, hopefully in the future, that is a long series like this, I am going to hopefully put a lot more time on the front end on making a lot of those decisions about how the world works, because there are these inconsistencies. But hopefully to those of you that have read pretty far on, it hasn't bothered you too much, because it's not big things for the most part. But there are a few little things here and there about how things work that you may notice on a reread. So, all right, you guys, chapter 6 or episode 6 is over. We are about halfway through. Evie has drawn on some of the pages, as she does. So episode 7 will cut into it'll take off right where we left off, with them trying to figure out what really happened in Aldine. And that is a mystery that will not be solved for Harper until towards the end of this book. And we also have this ominous Halloween party is coming up, but Harper will discover some important information before the Halloween party begins. You coming back in to say hello? Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. Say happy St. Patrick's Day.
Hi.
Hi. Amaya says, the Shadow Demons series has been a major comfort to me over the years. I think when I started, there were only the first 3 out. Yes. Thank you so much for reading them. I still love them all. Thank you very much for saying that. So this 4th book came out in July of 2011. So this was before Andrew was born. Boo. And yeah, was a fun book to write. Rival Demons did not come out until January that following year. So a lot of really interesting things to come. And it's so fun to go back and revisit, because I'm also simultaneously, like I said, reading the books at the end of the series and realizing, oh my gosh, just seeing what Harper's going through now, and like the way she's speaking nicely of the order and all these things that are happening, it's like, okay, we got a lot of things that are going to happen here in this series. So if you guys are enjoying it, stick with us. We are reading Shadow Demons all the way through the end, and we may continue on with some of the other books. We will yet to tell in terms of where it is, but I appreciate you guys being here, and yeah, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, and I will see you guys on Friday with the coffee chat. Bye. Happy St. Patrick's Day, you guys, and we will talk to you Friday. Bye.